Like Dixon. I'm the Draw My Life prison wife. I'm the legally blind artist that is rapping and painting for justice, hoping to see justice before all phase two black. Yes, it's your girl Cadillac. Anyways, we're jumping right back in to working on Miss Princess's posters. My sister's gonna do the rest of the decorations, but I'm just doing the little Gracie corner posters. So this one is from Humpty Dumpty. So this is the Humpty, stay off the wall, stay off the wall. But Humpty wouldn't listen, Humpty wouldn't listen. That's what that one's from. So I just gotta paint that in now. I got the outline. That was on my last live. And now I'm about to do this one. Let me show you. Oh, that was Humpty. Humpty ain't listen, he hard head. Well, shell headed. Thin head. He can't be hard head because then he wouldn't have cracked. Okay, so this is from the Money Song. I'm gonna do this one now. Okay, so after I do this outline, I gotta go to bed. But what we're gonna do while, um, because 21 years ago today, well now yesterday, because it's after midnight. Whew, that was crazy. I'm getting chills thinking about it. We're going to listen to some of my Project Reach the World playlist. This is all to free my husband from his wrongful 21-year prison sentence. Y'all can go to that playlist and please check it out. Girl, it took me years. This is my whole life's work. Whole life's work, girl. And I hate for my life to be in vain. But we're going to go and listen to some of the let's do some of the videos. Let's do from his trial, since this is the day that he basically would have. Oh no, it's not on that one. Project Reach the World. It's under Free Marcello. But let's listen to the trial. Not the trial. I'm sorry. It's basically a. Where is it? The Free Marcello Jackson playlist. Some of my first videos that I made from this channel when I came back. Got Project Reach the World, Draw My Life. Where is it? Please don't let them up. Oh, here it is. I forgot I got all that Corey Miller stuff first. But let's listen to, by this time, Marcello had done lost his trial 21 years ago. I could not figure out how to get home when they took him because I didn't know downtown like that. We're going to watch these. So I had to call my mother. My mother did not even know. We're going to watch those. My mother did not even know that I had a tattoo. Me and Marcello had matching tattoos. I'm sorry, I'm legally blind, so I can't have the ring light directly in my eye like that. My mother didn't know that me and Marcello had matching tattoos. He had hers, well, still has, but now you got all them prison tattoos, girl. He had I'm hers going down his arm, and I had his going across my arm. I hid it from my mother, but I made my little outfit for court thinking I was just gonna be cute, and we was coming home with my husband. He was finna beat this little bogus trial, and when he didn't, I basically ran out the courtroom, laid in the street, did not come back to until I seen his little bogus public defender that ensured his wrongful conviction. And before I can get to him, before I can even get up and say anything to him, he asked me, do you know why he got convicted? And I said, yeah, because he's black. And he was like, yeah, really, that is the only reason. He said that now you're going to have to find a lawyer that is going to fight for his life. You're going to have to appeal, not knowing that I would essentially become that lawyer, basically, but more so an advocate. I've become an advocate for my husband for the last 21 years. So by this time, once my mother found me, took me home, um, I I don't even know how my car got home because I remember getting in the minivan with her and she drove me home. I just laid in bed for like two to. There's a better one, but I don't even remember what that video was under where I actually told that story time of that date. But I basically laid in bed for days after that. Just shock. Like it was literally like somebody died. I laid in bed in shock. And one day my mother came in the room and she was like, Keita, you can't stay here. You gotta get up. You have a daughter. You gotta get up. And my mother's words basically brought me back to life, and I got up, and I got up fighting ever since. So let's go back to some of these videos that I created. Um, what was it? The year before last, I was to present, basically plead the case of Marcello Jackson. And 10 minutes before I was to present, my presentation was canceled and never ever rescheduled. It's always something jumps in the way. It's almost like that movie Life. Like every time they're on the cusp of getting out, it just never freaking happens. Except for this is not a comedy, this is our life. No. But let's get back to drawing. We're gonna draw Gracie's corner. We're gonna draw that scene. And I'm gonna play some of my throwback videos. It is from Florida man wrongfully convicted and excessively sentenced. I'm fighting the way his lawyer should have. Driver jumped out the car. Okay, here we go. Hi guys. Okay, this is the PDF. This PDF I worked on for basically all last week. I was going to present, but it was canceled 10 minutes before I was to present. So I made this beautiful, beautiful slideshow, and 10 minutes before I was to present it, it was canceled. So I went into this thing, and like everything I do is for nothing. Everything I try to do is for nothing. And I try my best to keep and remain positive, but to have opportunities that just fail, and it seems like everything that has to do with my husband's case fails. I mean, eventually you just start thinking that everything you do, like, it's just gonna fail. And I don't want to be in that mindset, but that's how I felt last week when I did this slideshow and it was canceled 10 minutes before. Like, how ironic. Okay, so I'm gonna show it to you. It's Keita Dixon. I am a graphic designer and a fine artist. I use all my art forms to get through all my dark storms. I am an artist that uses all my talents to bring attention to my husband's case. Art forms being fine artist, graphic designer, rapper, spoken word poet, cosmetologist, and YouTuber. My name is Keita Dixon. My artist name is Cadillac. I am a shy, quiet, reserved person that instead of expressing oneself through verbal communication, I use the universal languages of art and music. Being a super reserved person, I created an alter ego named Super Rapping Woman. She is faster than the speed of sound, and she can relay messages that I am too shy to even comment on. Being bullied growing up, I made myself a shell of protection from the outside world. Super Rapping Woman helps me break through that shell, break out that shell. And my slogan for that was Super Rapping Woman, single mother by day, super rapping woman by night. I am a legally blind artist that is rapping for justice. I am hoping to see justice before it all fades to black. That's about that degenerative eye condition that I have. Okay, this is my opening statement. Through fighting for freedom for my husband, I'm finding freedom for myself. This is the case of Marcello Jackson. Hello, I know in life no one owes me anything at all. I've grown accustomed to always trying to handle things that arise on my own. But this situation, I truly tried to do the same. This issue dealing with my loved one. But this issue also is much bigger than me and my loved one can tackle on our own. We don't have the resources, connections, or the voices needed to remedy this situation. All I have is my art, so I use it as my voice. I am so independent, but I know in this matter, I need someone outside of myself to help me get this attention needed to my husband's case. There are so many things that don't add up to me. Thank you so much. I realize that you don't know me from Adam, and you definitely don't owe me anything. But you took the time to listen to our story, and that truly is a blessing. 2001, we just started our family. These illustrations are from a storybook that I created to tell my husband's story easier. They are also song lyrics from a song that I wrote about his case. The song is called Hold You Down. I'll link that in the description box. You were right there. Actually, let me rap those little lyrics since they are rap lyrics. And you was right there when I got pregnant, baby. You never once ran away from your responsibilities, and when I went in labor, you was right there by my side, holding my hand and saying, baby girl, it's gonna be alright. We were the picture perfect family. We were the picture perfect family. Keyword word. It's a picture with money and her dad as soon as, this was soon after she was born. Y'all heard all the stories about how in love he was with her. This was the love of his life and still is. That's him and money again. This was the best time of our lives. 2001 was the best time of our lives. But 2 months later, my husband Marcello was at the wrong place at the wrong time, and our lives were changed forever. He was at the wrong place, at the wrong time, with the wrong homies. This is the day in question. This is Marcello's account of the day in question. Sorry for all the clicking sounds. That is my mouse. It was August the 13th, 2001, when I dropped Marcello off on the corner of two main highways, one main street over from Highway 50. I dropped him off with his bike, and he rode his bike the rest of the way to his female cousin's house in downtown Orlando area. Upon his arrival, she informed me that their other cousin, that we will call him DJ, had been calling all day asking where he was. At the time, DJ didn't have a cell phone for him to call him back, so he said he figured DJ would call again later. After a while of being at his female cousin's house, Marcello said he told her he was going to walk to the 7-Eleven down the street that's on the corner. On his way back from the 7-Eleven, he said he heard a car honking as it went by. Then it U-turned and came back. That's when he spotted DJ. He was driving the car. He had two other guys in the back seat of the car. Marcello said his cousin was driving while the two guys were in the back seat, looked as though they were high. DJ asked him where he was coming from. He told him the 7-Eleven on the corner. He asked if he wanted a ride with him. He was about to drop the two guys off. Marcello said he told him to just drop him back off at their female cousin's house and just come back through when he dropped the two guys off. So on the way to her house, DJ ended up running a stop sign as they headed down the road. Just as they ran the stop sign, a police cruiser was headed in the opposite direction on the same street. As DJ sped through the stop sign, the police flashed their lights and they did a U-turn. Marcello then said DJ panicked and hit the gas and put the cops on a 5-minute high-speed chase through the neighborhood. Marcello said "Are you doing?" Marcello said that he figured something else had to be going on. He thought maybe his cousin had something in the car that he didn't want the cops to find. DJ turned down a side street and he stopped at a dead end. These are Marcello's words, his account of what happened next. Next thing I know, DJ did the unthinkable. He jumped out the driver's side of the door once it stopped, and he ran. Long story short, the police pulled up a couple minutes right behind the car, and by this time, DJ had already ran and jumped out and fled the scene, leaving me to deal with the aftermath with the police alone. Instead of me running too, when the officer said, "Stand where you are," I did. And then I was called by a lady cop. I walked towards them with my hands up, and I was told to get on the ground. There I lay on the ground, all their weapons drawn. One false move, and they searched me and put me in handcuffs. Then they went to speak to the two guys that were in the back seat, not wanting to incriminate themselves, revealing they were there getting high or whatever they were doing. They lied and said that they had been carjacked and had been robbed. Okay, this next slide is the victim/witnesses account of the day in question. There were no witnesses in this case, so they always use the testimony of the victim, the alleged victim, as a witness. So that's why I have that victim/witness. But other than them, their word is the only word that was taken. So this is their account of the day in question. That was Marcello's account. They said they were sitting in their car in a parking lot in a club in the Orlando area on Orange Blossom Trail. They said they were drinking at the club earlier and quickly sobered up. The victim/witnesses said that a while later, they were sitting in the car. A guy, and then in quotation, Marcello Jackson, walked up to the driver's side of the vehicle that they were sitting in the parking lot. The driver's account was that Mr. Jackson came up to the window and asked if he had a cigarette. The driver said he looked down and was looking for a cigarette, and when he looked up, he was about to say, "All I have are Slims," but when he lifted his head, he felt cold steel against his nose. That's the exact words that he used. I was in court, and it's like I was the court reporter because I took note of everything, and I remember a lot of these words word for word. So that was exactly how they said it. He felt cold steel against his nose. The witness/victim said that Marcello ordered them to get in the back seat, and Marcello's cousin got in the front passenger seat while Marcello jumped in the driver's seat. They said Marcello realized that the car was a stick shift, and he said he can't drive a stick shift. So he ordered his cousin to jump in the driver's seat, and Marcello went around and got in the passenger seat. Then Marcello held the weapon on the two while the cousin drove. And then the story picks up there from the point of the car driving, and then the stop sign getting run, and the car getting and going off on the high-speed chase, and the car getting pulled over. So the first parts of the stories start differently. But the thing that gets me is that we wanted surveillance cameras to be pulled. So because Marcello just stated he had came from the 7-Eleven, that he was there just a few minutes prior before his cousin picked him up. And this neighborhood was so small, so that was a very short high-speed chase because it was just a block over. So we wanted records showing that, look, Marcello couldn't have been just driving around, with these people in the car. He just left the 7-Eleven. And we were told by Marcello's own lawyer that he did not have enough money to pull 7-Eleven surveillance to prove Marcello was there. Okay, he denied him that. Then the witnesses, remember in their story, they said that Marcello approached them in the parking lot of this club. This club was also a hotel. It was a club and a hotel. They account nobody was in the parking lot but them. No security. There used to be security that let people in the parking lot and stuff like that. There was nobody there. There was nobody that was at the club just hanging around afterwards. Nobody in the parking lot, which this all sounds false because this is a hotel. I can't see this whiteboard. From all over, they come downtown Orlando for this club. So, and it was a Sunday night. They said nobody was out there. Sunday night, back in the day, that was a big night for that club. I couldn't believe nobody was there. Then we asked for surveillance. Could we get surveillance of the parking lot of what happened? And Marcello's own lawyer told us no, because the club does not have surveillance outside. That as well sounds so false. Oh, so sleepy. So they never allowed Marcello to prove where he was. Marcello said he was at the 7-Eleven, walking, got in the car with his cousin, and we wanted to prove that the cousin was already driving around in the car with the people before Marcello ever stepped foot in the car. But we couldn't, because if Marcello went to the 7-Eleven, it would have showed Marcello coming up to the 7-Eleven with his bike. And it would have showed Marcello leaving the 7-Eleven with his bike and not this vehicle. But they would not pull it, said they did not have enough money for it. So these are two different stories of what happened. But which one does the evidence corroborate? And all in the end, Marcello got 40 years. He got several sentences. He got several charges, but they ran his charges concurrently. He got a total of 6 charges. They pulled everything they could out of this incident and gave him a charge. And I will get into them charges. I'm going to explain each charge to you. And they said 40 years. And I believe 40 years is over sentencing. I believe he's innocent. This man is innocent. But if you're going to wrongfully convict him, you need to sentence him correctly. 40 years. And they said they had no weapon. Remember they said he held a weapon on them? They never produced that weapon. So that weapon is just hearsay from those victims/witnesses. They never produced a weapon, but they charged him with the weapon. They did not. They scanned that car or dusted that car. They didn't find Marcello's fingerprints in the car or on the weapon that doesn't even exist. And they have nothing else that you can touch, tangible, that you could touch, feel, smell, observe, that linked Marcello to this case. The only thing that links Marcello to this case is the victim/witnesses. And please keep in mind, the driver jumped out the car and ran. They only picked up Marcello because Marcello did not run away from the crime scene. I'm sorry, not the crime scene, the spot that the car ended the high-speed chase. Marcello didn't run. But the second person, the driver, keep in mind, Marcello is a passenger. The driver jumped out the car and ran. And they say they never recovered that driver. They never caught that driver. Keep all this in mind as I'm building this story and pleading it to you. Earlier that day, right before that day in question, earlier that day, Marcello and... Hold on, I'm going to show y'all this picture. Look at us. The love of my life. I spent that whole entire day together. Marcello had dreads at that time. So I had braided his dreads down into cornrows. Now this was 2001. Some people had dreads. Everybody didn't have dreads back then. But really, nobody really got into braiding the dreads. Now they do. It's very popular now to braid your dreads down. But we were kind of ahead of everybody, like, with styles. And I was a hairstylist and all of that. So I had the ability to manipulate Marcello's thick dreads into cornrows. So me and Marcello spent much of that day together, from the morning to all day. we spent together. I braided his hair. Please keep that in mind because that's key. It doesn't seem like it, but it's key. I, Keita Dixon, braided Marcello Jackson's dreads down. After that, we went to the mall and we went to the movies. When we came from the mall and the movies, I had to do someone's hair before school. It was the day before school in 2001. And I went to go do someone's hair. I did not drop Marcello all the way off. He wanted to go to his female cousin's house. I did not drop him all the way off. I dropped him a few blocks away with his bike so that he could ride the rest of the way home. So taking account, I dropped him off. You have to take into account the time that he rode that bike, maybe 3 or 4. That's a little ways. One day I'm going to drive that to see how long it takes. But I guess it wouldn't be the same on bike. I could probably do it from MapQuest. Not MapQuest. What do you call that thing? Google Maps. And probably time it how long it would take on a bike from that point to that point. Maybe I could do that. Okay, so that time period had to pass. And then after that, he got to the cousin's house. He said he sat there for a minute, but then he got bored and he wanted to get some snacks. So now you have to account him walking to the 7-Eleven. So now I don't know I think he said he walked. I don't know if he used that bike. He should have used the bike. Oh my God, because if he had that bike, I'm sure he wouldn't have got in that car. Because where would he have put his bike? That would have been a God save had he rode that bike up there. But I think he walked. He walked up there to 7-Eleven, and he was on his way walking back. So all that time account, which was maybe a little while after, I dropped him off, and I never heard anything back from him. All this incident happened. Like Marcello would call me when he said he was going to call me. He called me, and that night had passed, and I hadn't received that call from Marcello, and that is very unlike him. Okay, so I'm going to read it again. I'm sorry. Marcello and I spent the entire day together. Marcello had dreads at the time, so he had me braid his dreads down into cornrows. We spent much of our day at his house. Finally, later that evening, we went to the mall and the movies. Later that night, I dropped him off on that corner, that main highway corner, with his bike. Okay, so I'm going to stop there for this moment, and I'm going to make this, I'm going to continue this. Please keep up to date. I'm trying to push this out fast. They are trying to do if you're familiar with corrections and stuff, you already know. You know exactly what I'm talking about. But they are doing some lower than low stuff to us. They run on injustice inside as well. Once they get in prison, and then they always say they have rights, they can do this, they can do that. They have no rights. If you invoke your rights, let's go to part 2.
You're retaliated against. They are retaliating against Marcello. Hey guys, what it is, it's your girl Cadillac, and I am back, and I want to just thank everyone, every single person that watched the last video. Thank you so much. I am just so thankful to everyone in my time of need, just coming together and helping me. Thank you so much. Anybody that watched the last video, shared the last video, thank you. If you checked out the petition, if you checked out the GoFundMe, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. On behalf of my husband, he appreciates all of the support, and our daughter as well. Thank you so much. Okay, so I'm going to continue on where I left off. So from the last video, it left off like just telling what happened, how the day in question went down, the way things went. That was the exact incident that happened. This is what happened after that day. So after the day in question, I didn't hear anything from Marcello, and that is very unusual, like I said. So when I did hear from him the next day, he's crying. He's like, I got this red band on my arm. I got a red band on my arm. And I'm like, what in the heck? Like, what's a red band? I'm like, what does the red band say? He says, it says life or death. And I'm like, what? Like, I didn't understand anything. It was like he was rumbling on. He must have still been nervous or whatever. So I didn't really get too much information from him then. But later on, that's when I found out he was in jail. And he went to a jail that we have here called 33rd. And back then, you were able to actually visit inside the jail, but it was a non-contact visit, and they would be behind a glass. So you would sit on one side, and your loved one would sit on the other side.
I got the grandma
when
too.
I did visit at 33rd, like,
oh well,
I think
believe
I went every week. The thing was, it's a little cute story. The way the buildings were going into visitation, it would be like, I guess the dorm buildings would be on either side of you, and you would walk down this long walkway to get to the area that the visitors go through, and they could see, like, they would look out the windows and look down for their visitors to be coming in. So yeah, that's when you had to look cute, girl. Like, I had my heels on, and I would wear the tall heels, and back then they had those heels that laced up around your calf. And boy, girl, yes, I'm telling you, I was cute. And what was so crazy was we would dress up head to toe, but once you go into visitation, they can't see nothing but waist up. But it was, you just dressed up for that walk. That was the that was the whole point of dressing up, yes. But during that time, it was 2001, and Alicia Keys' song "Fallen" was out. That song had just came out, and it seemed like that song was written just for me. So back then, the visitation, it was a couple hours. You go in. I would have my daughter there, and this is a illustration I did of visitation, and it would be. I guess I missed that off the drawing.
Show y'all that.
It was like these little holes on the side, either side of the glass. The glass was thick, and there were like holes on either side of the glass, like in the little metal part that sealed the glass to the wall. And you would have to get right up close to the side to yell through to even hear what your loved one is saying, and for them to hear you. Like, it wasn't like how on Alicia Keys on her video where they had the phone and you could, no, baby, wasn't none of that. They couldn't hear what you were saying. You could barely hear what they were saying. But this is how my daughter started out visiting. She was just months old, and she would jump at the glass. So let me read that. Visitation while Marcello was in county. My daughter would jump at a several inch thick glass. She would look like, why won't daddy pick me up? Like, they have a bond, like from birth almost. They had this bond. And she really wanted her daddy to, like, she can see him, but she didn't understand why she could not get to him. Initially, Marcello went to the county jail and was sent away with no bond. Soon after, I scraped up all the money I could and paid a lawyer to get him a bond. Okay, so when they arrested Marcello, they send them away with no bond. Well, I don't know if they do that to everyone, but Marcello was sent away without a bond. And they go before what they used to call TV court, and I guess that's the initial, once you get in jail, you're trying to find out what's going on, this, and that. So the TV court judge or whatever sent him away with no bond. So you could not bond him out. What I did was things kind of fell into place where something was going to have to be done. Like, I had to do something. So what I did was I searched for a lawyer. Well, I was referred to a lawyer, and he was able to. I took every dime that I had. I had just had my daughter. I was given gifts and stuff like that. I had a little tiny, like maybe $500 savings or something like that. And I had the gifts that were from my daughter for having a baby. People give you gift cards or money cards or whatever. That's what I had, added that up. I took every dime I had out the bank. My mother was so furious with me because of that, but I had to get him home. So I spent all of that to get him the bond. It cost like $1,000 or something like that. But in 2001, $1,000 to a person that I was 20 and he was 19, that's a lot of money to someone like our age. Um, then after he got the bond, you have to pay the bond. That was just getting the bond. So this great, awesome lawyer was able to get him a bond, but we then had to pay the bond. And then for the charges they gave him, like they set bonds higher for African American males and minorities. They set them higher. You may pay times more than, other individuals, which that's that's crazy. It seems like it's always harder. Like it's always harder for us. But I guess it makes us stronger as well. But yeah, so the bond ended up being 10,000, and you have to pay 10%, and you have to put up collateral for the rest of the 10,000. So my car was worth nothing. I didn't have no house. I didn't have any assets. I didn't have a thing. I spent every dime I had getting him the bond. Now, how do we pay the bond? Well, anyway, I'm going to figure something out. So I went applying for credit cards and like crazy. So I got like several credit cards, and I got one that had enough on it. I think I did like some balance transfer thing to put them all together on one. And then I went to pay the lawyer. I'm sorry, to pay the bondsman. And what was so crazy, the bondsman ended up going to the same church as his grandmother. So the bondsman did not charge us the collateral, which that was great because nobody had houses and cars to put up. And he actually somehow he slid my credit card, but the charge never went through. Like he never charged me. So I guess he was doing this like out the kindness of his heart, but that was a gift that can never be taken away. That gift of giving us a bond for my husband to get out, that is actually how our family continued to bond together during that early stage of our family. And needless to say, I did not have enough money to keep that paid lawyer. So initially, Marcello went to the county jail and was sent away with no bond. Soon after, I scraped up all the money I could and paid a lawyer to get him a bond. While Marcello was out on bond, we were also able to strengthen our family's bond. Marcello spent every day with our daughter, feeding her and taking care of her while I worked. I even came home one day and seen that he tried to comb her hair into a little ponytail. We also spent our days looking for employment for him and better employment for me. He also attended GED courses at a local community center until finally he landed a construction job. We both worked, and my husband paid for our daughter's daycare. He then also had to prepare for his trial that was coming up. This is a picture of Marcello and Money, and this is the cutest picture ever. This actually shows their interaction. Money used to pull his face in, and she would nuzzle him and kiss him on the face. And when she kissed him, give him big old wet kiss, she just rub her face back and forth. So when we went to take pictures, they caught her doing it. That is the cutest thing.
Princess does that
this is
now.
a picture. It displays their interaction. She would pull his face in and give him a big wet kiss on the cheek. Yes. I love that picture so much that I painted it. This is a little t-shirt that I did paint for her to wear. Is her daddy's little girl t-shirt, and I think I do have a picture of her wearing it to visitation to see her daddy. Reaccount of the time leading up to trial. This is the vibe. This was like what was going on leading up to trial. Okay, Marcello's public defender slash crime specialist said that the victim slash witnesses described the robber as a black guy with dreads. Okay, so Marcello was not able to keep that paid lawyer. We didn't have any more money, and it took a while before he found a job. He actually didn't find a job till it was almost right up until time to go to prison. So we didn't really have the money for the paid lawyer. The paid lawyer said that he should have never went to jail. They didn't have any evidence on him. There's no way, he should lose trial. But end up, we had to go with a public defender. So with the first public defender that he had, he was actually given, we were told, the same public defender as the cousin that jumped out the car and ran. We were told by that public defender that he cannot represent him because that would be technically like representing both sides of the case, and he cannot do that. They have conflicts. So he has to drop one of the clients, and one of the clients being Marcello. After that, Marcello was turned over to a crime specialist. This is somebody that comes in when the public defenders, they cannot take a case, there's a conflict, he comes in. So here comes this crime specialist. He says that he is this magnificent lawyer. He is not a public defender, and he represented a guy that had blood here, blood there, blood everywhere, but he was able to get that guy off. And so we're really believing in him, and we're thinking, wow, we just hit the jackpot. Like, we got this great lawyer. He's an actual attorney, and he is gonna fight for Marcello. Like, how much more lucky can we be? And that it was like lucky on a real bad day, opposite day. So he was a crime specialist, but this guy actually, I think the public defender could have did way more than this man did, and this man actually worked against Marcello. Not sure that the public defender would have done that. Who knows? Okay, Marcello's public defender slash crime specialist said that the victim slash witnesses described the robber as a black guy with dreads. That's more than half the black male population in Orange County, Florida. To my knowledge, there was no lineup, just the DA showing the victim slash witnesses a picture of Marcello and saying, "Is this the guy?" We together decided to cut off his dreads for court. I still have his dreads in a cereal box, and I kept it all these years. Okay, so that leads me to a question.
Oh, it's getting late. I gotta go to bed. So
after this, describe Marcello as a black guy with dreads, and it brings up a question to me: how? How do you describe him as a black guy with dreads? Because they said they described Marcello as a black guy with dreads, but remember, I braided his hair down into cornrows, so you wouldn't have seen his dreads. And it was at night. So why didn't they describe him as a black guy with cornrows or hair pulled back? Why would you call him a black guy with dreads? Because the dreads were completely braided all the way down. It's nighttime. Like, how would you describe that as dreads? That seems crazy. And he was actually arrested with his hair braided down like that. So how did they describe him like that? I believe that description came further along like after they were able to get their stories together and stuff, because it is time in between the arrest and the trial. So by then they can try to clear up their stories. Initial trial date. Okay, so trial was set for Marcello, and this is what happened on that day. After this ordeal happened, they scheduled trial. No one but me and Marcello showed up on that trial date. Marcello's lawyer, the crime specialist, said the judge is going to continue the case since the victim/witnesses did not show up. We asked, what does that mean? He says that means that if they don't show up again, all charges against Marcello would have to be dropped. He then informed us that both victims/witnesses moved to 2 different states and that they do not want to be bothered. But he, Marcello's own lawyer, is going to go out of town to see if he could subpoena them to court. Huh? How does that make any type of sense? Okay, so the guys didn't even show up. Nobody showed up. Nobody showed up to press the charges against Marcello. They were supposed to let him go. Instead, the judge continues the case, and then Marcello's own lawyer says that I'm going to go out of town to get them. That is ineffective counsel. He worked against his client. If he had just did nothing, the charges would have been dropped on his clients. He ensured that his client would either be forced to plead or would ensure that he was convicted. So why was the habeas corpus not granted? A habeas corpus is saying that you were convicted based on your own attorney's negligence. And then I could link in there, I got a video that is 16 ways that Marcello's public defender helped get him the wrongful conviction. So you can check that out. That will be linked in the description box. But yeah, so Marcello's lawyer subpoenaed the 2 guys. After this incident happened, they moved to 2 different states outside of Florida. Not even in Florida. They moved away. One moved here, one moved there. So subpoenas were sent out to both of them, like 4 different times, and they were rejected and sent back. They were never received, never accepted. Okay, so Marcello's own lawyer goes out of town and subpoenas them in person. One, he goes from here to the first state, from Florida to the first state, and serves the subpoena to the victim in person. Then he goes to the next state and serves the subpoena to that victim in person. Now, for them to run off,
That's
to
a
be
mistake.
quite honest with you,
They were in 2 different cities, but they were in one state outside of Florida. They both fled to Vermont, but they were in 2 different cities in Vermont, which is really freaking far from Orlando, Florida.
that looks as though they wanted nothing to do with this case. Actually, they should have been looked into, like, what the heck? Did they have anything to do with this? How do you just jump up and say you were robbed? How, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't make sense. And if you were robbed, why the heck would you just move off and you don't want nothing? You don't want the robber call. You don't want, like, that makes no sense. The story sounds very silly, and it has nothing to hold it together. It's just a flimsy case. They had a very flimsy case. Okay, so this is leading up to the second date of the trial. So the last meeting before the second trial date, the lawyer informed us that he was able to get one of the victim/witnesses to come to court. And if Marcello was just going to take the 17-year plea bargain. This first picture is depicting what happened right before we were to go to trial. Marcello's lawyer, the crime specialist, asked Marcello if he was going to take the 17-year plea. I guess back then we did not know that if Marcello was seeming to be willing to take the plea, they would have went lower for him. He was fixated on he could not do 17 years for something he did not do. The lawyer went on to say, listen, what if I was your doctor and you had a cancer in your arm and the only way to get rid of this cancer was to cut off your arm? Would you want me to let you go on with the cancer? Or would you want me to tell you the truth? What if I didn't advise you to cut off your arm and you died? He said, I'm telling you to cut off your arm so that you can live. Take the 17 years plea. Marcello replied, I cannot take 17 years for a crime that I did not do. I'm going to take my chances at trial. He said, okay, kiss your daughter goodbye. And it was goodbye. I also have one more video that I will link in there. It is a song that I made called You Better Take the Plea. And it's basically saying if you are accused in a crime, you better take the plea. If you ain't got no money, you better take the plea. If you ain't got a good lawyer, you better take the plea. Take it from me. If you take it to trial, they'll send you up creek. Yes. They will. And it's crazy how if you lose the trial, they throw the book at you. And I was on a Zoom with a senator, and he was like, well, he used to be like a DA. And he was like, that's crazy that when he was DA, he didn't do that. Like if he offered you something before trial, if you lost trial, he still would give you the same amount of time. And people would look at him like he's crazy. But he was like, the reason he does that is because the point of trial is just to tell you to prove what you're saying is true. So if you didn't prove what you said was true, then you just get the alternative, which was the time that you were supposed to get. But he said that to give a person more time after not getting, after losing, how are you gonna just stick it to them? That's like being like angry because they made you go to trial, which a trial is someone's rights. It's your right to go to trial. So because you enacted your rights, you should not be punished more severely. And that's what they did with Marcello. We really believe the only reason he got that 40 years was because they were trying to throw the book at him and make an example of him because he went to trial. Okay, my husband's trial was set for the week before Easter in 2002. I just recorded this video this past Easter. It's been 20 years. Actually, I'm sorry, it's been 19 years since he went to jail. But this was the Easter dress that he bought his daughter just prior to going to trial, which is trial
We
was
put
the week
that
before
on
Easter.
his
So
granddaughter.
he bought the dress for her, but he did not get to see her
That
wear
much
the
time
dress.
passed.
You can check that out. Okay, so the day of that trial,
I illustrated all of this.
trial. On the day of trial, Marcello and I arrived at the courthouse. We were discussing the whole situation. I was speaking about an issue when Marcello was like, shh, that's them. When he said that, we were getting on the elevator. Who? I said. Marcello answered, the victims/witnesses. I observed them and their demeanor. They seemed to be so laid back. That didn't make any sense. How could they be so calm around someone who they were definitely afraid of previously? They didn't even seem shaken in the least bit. One seemed to be high. He was like shaking and fidgety. They didn't even nudge over in the elevator when we got on. Marcello went to the bathroom and crazy, one of the victims/witnesses followed behind him and went in the bathroom as well. Maybe it's just me, but I couldn't be so calm around someone I was just victimized by. Okay, so for now, that is where I'm going to stop because that was everything. That was the incident in part one. Part two, um, explaining everything leading up to the trial, and then part three, I'm gonna pick up with the trial and all the madness that happened then. Okay, so thank you so much. Please, just as the same plea, I'm begging you, please stay tuned with this case I'm presenting. If you can share it, please share it to anybody that you believe has that heart to to actually listen to all the facts and consider everything, and that is willing to that is open to hear the truth and decide for themselves
You
and
can't handle the
help
truth.
with this process. I'm trying to get my husband's story
Truth.
out. I'm trying to break a story. I've been trying for 20 years and unsuccessful because it's still just a handful of people that know his case. But, once that story breaks out, that's going to be it. I believe when they learn the story of this man will be free. Yes. Remember, don't forget to check out the petition that is linked in the description box, the GoFundMe that I have to raise legal funds for Marcello. Please read the entire thing if you have time. I'm not, if you ain't got no time, then. But I'm not asking you to, how you have to sign documents and stuff like that. You read it first, read it. Don't sign nothing you don't feel compelled to sign. But if you read it and you agree that these things don't make sense, what I'm asking for is a new trial for him. Really, he should just be released because he has done so much time. But the petition is asking for a new trial, a fair trial. And I don't understand why is it so. If you stand behind this conviction and flimsy conviction, then why not look at the facts? Thank you so much. Here's your girl, Cadillac. Here's your girl, Cadillac.
That was Juju that did that. We're gonna stop when I finish this the little boy because I'm tired. I don't want to
Hi guys,
oversleep
what
for
it
work.
is, it's your girl Cadillac on this first day of May. Actually, it's the second day of May now because I am up early in the AM. It's almost 3 a.m. But I'm trying to get the next part of this video out. As usual, I want to thank every single person that is sharing these videos, that is commenting, that is trying to help me get some traction and some movement with this case. Thank you so much across all platforms that I'm trying to get my Instagram back up running on a regular basis, and YouTube and Facebook, everywhere. And I've actually been told I need to start a TikTok, so I'm going to start that very soon. I just really need his story out. I need him out of prison. He's done a lot of time, and it's like it's enough. He's been screwed almost every way you can be screwed. So it's time to let him live. I've spent most of my life fighting for him instead of being with him. We've been fighting for our family, but we've had much less time actually being a family. So it's so crazy. So I'm ready for that chapter to close. It's too much. It's a lot, and I know we are not the only family. There is a lot of other families in the same position as us, and oh my gosh, it's just so sad. It's so sad how little our lives are valued and how little our. Whew. Anyways, let me get into part three. And this is actually where I left off. I was showing before we went into the court and just the interaction with the victim slash witnesses. It was really weird. Like, I didn't understand like how they weren't so deathly afraid of Marcello, but they acted as though they were that night in question. All of that, none of it seems, it makes no sense. Um, okay, so let's get to the trial. This is the day of trial, the recount of inconsistencies slash it don't add up, and none of it to me adds up. When we showed up at the second trial date, Marcello's lawyer said he was able to get both to come to court. They were questioned separately in the courtroom. Their stories had inconsistencies and conflicted with one another. I used to remember the inconsistencies word for word.
Oh, we
But
just
now
read
it's
that
been so long,
transcript.
I don't know.
So we
But I
refreshed our
do
memory.
know that it's in the transcript. I do remember what they were about, though. Okay, so the first inconsistency was the way that they say they got in the back seat. It did not coincide with one another. So they said that Marcello came up to the driver's side, asked did he have a cigarette. He put his head down to look for a cigarette, and when he lifted his head, he just felt cold steel against his nose. And then that's when they said that Marcello proceeded to get in the car and try to take off, but he realized he couldn't drive a stick shift. So he made his cousin come around, become the driver. He got in the passenger seat, and the guys were forced into the back seat. So the way that the guys got in the back seat did not coincide with one another. And one said that Marcello made them get out and run around to get into the back seat. When the other one was questioned, he said, no, Marcello would not let us out the car. He made us crawl across the seat. When they picked up that the story was different, it was asked again, are you sure you didn't get out and go around? And they said, no, Marcello would not let us out. And remember that they were questioned separately. One would had to sit outside the courtroom and be questioned, and the other one was questioned. So when one would answer a way that was not like the first one answered, they would question it again, and they would repeat that different answer, I guess, just to make known that these are two different answers. Okay, number two. The money they said that Marcello robbed from them did not add up. During the trial, the judge said you cannot charge Marcello with robbery because the money does not add up to the amounts that they said was taken from them. It's not the same amount that Marcello was found with, so it doesn't make sense to where the other money is. The judge got loud when he was talking about this issue. Marcello was picked up with $20 because he just got paid that day from work. The judge said the money don't add up. You can't charge him with robbery.
Okay, so after reading like I said, that was years. This was 2020 when I made this. And I did say I don't remember everything word for freaking word, but I remembered like a whole bunch of it. So I had the monies different. It was $20 difference, but Marcello only has 60 on him. I accidentally said 20 back then. Excuse me, because I wasn't really. It had been forever since I heard the transcript. Actually, I had never heard the transcript. I was going off of court, and court had been decades prior. So I had the amount of the money wrong. Marcello was picked up with $60, and the guy said that he took robbed them of 80. So that's the inconsistency in the money.
So they dropped the two charges of armed robbery.
And that's
but then the
incorrect
state kept
too.
saying, well, he tried to rob them. He tried. So the judge said, I'll allow it to be picked back up as attempted robbery. That is why one of his counts carry only 30.
Okay, so that was incorrect as well. The judge only dropped one count of robbery rather than the two. It was supposed to be the two, but there was no case with no robbery. So I believe that's why they kept one of the robberies. So one of them is attempted and one is robbery. So I am trying to line this up. There we go. Okay. So that is Gracie's Corner. That's poster number 2. That's gonna be the money song. This is the money song. So I got the money song for her. I think it's this one, the ants go marching one by one. I ain't doing that tonight. How many posters should I do for Princess? I think that should be enough, right? Because we may not even get this done how late it is because her party is on the weekend. Like, girl. So, and I also have to make the big Princess Gracie that I said I was going to make. And then this is Humpty Dumpty. Gracie's Corner, Humpty Dumpty. But it's going to be for her birthday. It's going to be Princess Corner. Okay, guys. So I'm quite tired. Y'all done seen several lives with me today. I was off today, so I try to get as much as I can. Like I said, I cram everything into one day. Unfortunately, that's just how I have to do it because, throughout the week, I'm always on my workshop. Like, girl. So this is like a furlough. Really, girl. But I am gonna see you later. It has literally been 21 years exactly yesterday that I lost the love of my life, lost my heart, and I have been fighting ever since. Um, Girl, it's looking like I'm gonna have to fight for the rest of my life. I wish you could just come home so that we can live our life. But instead, I will be in fight mode or until Jesus comes back. Anyways, it's your girl.